The defendants were victorious when they stepped in the courtroom 10 weeks ago. And they are victorious today. The verdicts are as follows. On the most serious charge of aggravated burglary, all 6 defendants were found not guilty. On the charge of violent disorder, there was no verdict reached for Charlotte Head, Samuel Corner and Ellie Cameo. On the charge of violent disorder, Zoe Rogers, Fatima Zainab Rajwani and Jordan Devlin were found not guilty. On the charge of criminal damage, there was no verdict reached for any of the 6 defendants. That is a victory. On the charge of the extra charge of GBH for Samuel Corner, no verdict was reached. Now, on the no verdicts, it can only be taken to retrial if it is in the public interest. Now, the defendants have already served 18 months in prison without a single conviction. Effectively, I think we can all agree that that effectively is enough punishment for people who were never even convicted. So it would only be in the interest of the Israeli weapons firms to continue the circus of persecuting the Filton 24. Now, this is a victory. And this win is something that all people of conscience must claim. Yes. Everybody who paid heed to the calls for support, who surrounded the prison walls, who protested at their British embassies across the world for the freedom of the Filton 24, who wrote honest articles and broadcast honest media, who wrote letters to the prisoners to ensure they held their strength while enduring the trauma of Britain's carceral system. The triumph was carried on the shoulders of thousands upon thousands of ordinary people who suspended their lives to fight for 6 strangers who were being stitched up by the British state. Now, it is not the ones who are disarming weapons who should be under cross-examination. Rather, it should have been those who were engineering, supplying and protecting those weapons who must be forced to justify their actions. And history will certify that the greatest crime that could have been committed in a time of genocide would have been to turn a blind eye to the massacres. I'll hand over to Brogan Devlin now on behalf of Jordan.
Despite having all the odds stacked against them, I can now say with the biggest smile that Jordan has not been convicted of any charges. The jury could see through the state lies and the political interference. This case was always a test case to see how far the government could get with taking away our right to protest. The everyday citizens of the jury have seen this and refuse to accept it, despite the propaganda and media bias funded by the billion-pound arms trade deals with the British government. The power still belongs to the people. Today, we celebrate. Tomorrow, we rest. But this is not over. Angelo Volante is the name of the Elbit Systems security guard who assaulted my brother multiple times. My heart sank watching the footage of my brother unarmed being attacked by Volante with a sledgehammer. Jordan was attempting to de-escalate the situation when Angelo Volante kicked, choked, struck, and even attempted to bite my brother. The jury was shown Jordan's black eye, bruised body, and sledgehammer marks. Angelo Volante was proven an unreliable and dishonest witness when questioned on the stand, as his account didn't match the CCTV and evidence. I don't think this is surprising given who his employer is. Elbit Systems, who conveniently lost much of the CCTV footage in the area where these attacks took place. And given Elbit Systems specialize in surveillance, this is extremely sus. Angelo Volante and Elbit Systems should be the ones on trial, not my brother. Thankfully, ordinary citizens of the jury could see that. And so, we leave today with our heads held high and our loved ones by our side.
I'm Claire, I'm the mother of Zoe Rogers. Let me tell you, thank you. Let me tell you about our 6 loved ones whose trial ended today. Who are these people who've been treated like dangerous, violent criminals, terrorists, a threat to national security, and kept in prison for 18 months without being convicted of any crime? They are Lottie Head, who worked for a domestic abuse charity and spent 3 years volunteering in the Calais jungle. Ellie Cameo, a nursery school teacher. Jordan Devlin, an artist and sculptor. Sam Corner, a philosophy and linguistics graduate from Oxford University. Fatima Zainab Rajwani and my daughter Zoe Rogers, university students who are both just 20 years old, living at home with their families. All of them are people of conscience, people who could not bear to see the images on their phones of the atrocities carried out by Israel in Gaza, knowing that their government was complicit. That Israel's largest weapons manufacturer, Elbit Systems, was literally making weapons on British soil to kill Palestinians. They tried every possible democratic route before they took this action. They went on marches, wrote to MPs, joined encampments. My daughter reached a point where she could see the government was not listening, where they were hell-bent on arming Israel no matter what, breaking both domestic and international humanitarian laws in the process. She was struck by a David Graeber quote: "Protest is like begging the powers that be to dig a well. Direct action is digging the well and daring them to stop you." She realised direct action against the weapon suppliers themselves was the only thing that was effective, and that's when she joined Palestine Action. It was clear in court that they each took action because if they hadn't, they couldn't live with themselves. They were motivated by a desire to save lives and uphold the international humanitarian laws this government has been so blatantly and callously breaking. Zoe wrote this poem shortly after she was imprisoned. I'll just read some extracts from it. When they ask me why I did it, I tell them about the children, how their childhood is stolen from them. I tell them of the boy found carrying his brother's body inside his bloody backpack. I tell them of the girl whose hanging corpse ended at the knees. I tell them of the father holding up his headless toddler. I tell them of the mother who received the approximate weight of her family in body parts to bury, as they had all been shattered beyond recognition. So I say I cannot stand for this. It can go on no longer, and I took action against Elbit, their weapons supplier. But I never forget to say that it was love, not hate, that called me. Watching their songs and dances of freedom, reading their hope-filled books, listening to their dreams of being doctors, teachers, journalists, and never giving up. Thank you.
I'm not Irish, but the Irish have been sending love and solidarity from the beginning. So Chucky all are, our day has come. Victory at last, some justice. Feedback's bad. The jury failed to convict my daughter Ellie and the other 5.
Do it again, do it again.
Well, the Irish have got to hear this. You've got it.
Someone speaking to
Can you do a test for us, Emma?
Nothing coming through.
Bear with us.
today's a glorious day.
Sorry?
Today's a glorious day.
A glorious day it is.
Sorry guys, it's okay.
Batteries on this one. Hello? Can you hear this? Hello? Hello?
It's coming out.
Testing.
Can you test again? Keep testing.
Testing.
The volume on the other speaker?
Testing.
The volume on the other speaker, can someone turn it up or confirm down here?
Testing. It's all the way out.
That one, wait, hold on. Try this one.
Again?
Okay, nope, nothing. Woohoo! Is it there? Really? Honestly?
It's not very loud, but there's a little bit.
Hello? Yeah, maybe this one.
This one, I'm sorry, that one, sorry.
That's okay.
Right, start again.
Oh my God, what's this sweet down? Okay, I think that's working, yeah. So, I'm not Irish, but Chucky all are. Our day has come. Victory at last, some justice. The jury failed to convict my daughter Ellie and the other 5 who took courageous action to stop a genocide, which the jury could plainly see. Having now heard...
Your words are too powerful.
Obviously.
That's what it is.
Having now heard all the evidence and watched the footage with its context explained, it is crystal clear to me, and obviously members of the jury too, that the Filton 24 took action to save lives and stop a genocide, and that they were acting in self-defense from violent guards. By the end of this trial, I have been left feeling that it should have been Elbit's violent security guards on trial here, and that the jury should have been deciding if they were psychopaths or whether they had been directed by Elbit systems to escalate violence. What has become obvious to anyone What has become obvious to anyone paying attention is that the UK government and Elbit systems deliberately engineered this case to fix the prescription of Palestine action. It became clear as the evidence unfolded that it was the violence of the military-trained guards that sent the factory into a frenzy that night,
completely overwhelming the girls, leaving Ellie, my daughter, and the two boys desperately attempting to de-escalate the situation and protect the others from the thugs hired to protect Israel's weapons. The police strategically released footage showing the incident with Sam Corner. What it never showed was that Sam had been blinded by pava spray and was trying to protect my daughter, Ellie, while he was unable to see. What it also did not show was that Ellie was tasered twice by accident, and the incompetent officer who did so was dragging her up off the ground with one handcuff while standing on her stomach and screaming at her to stay down. The whole time she had painful taser barbs still in her arm and thigh as he dragged her around. So she was screaming in pain, what was described in court as a blood-curdling scream, as the second electrical current went through her body. She was never resisting arrest. Sam Corner could only make out what he thought was another violent figure causing more pain, and did what he could to make it stop. I have been held back from speaking the whole truth about this trial. It has been fine for Yvette Cooper to be in contempt of court, but I'm tired of being silenced because I'm not important enough, and because that information will expose the depth of political corruption at the heart of the case against the Filton 24. Shockingly, it emerged this week that Elbit Systems had gone into a partnership with Serco, the very company that has been tasked with transporting our loved ones to and from prison every day for 10 weeks. Mistreating them after they are woken up at 5 a.m, transported to court in filthy prison vans, denying them food repeatedly, even whilst they were giving evidence. I haven't said this in a long time because we've been gagged from doing so, but I am so incredibly proud of them for taking action to stop a genocide. They inspired me and thousands of others to fight for Palestine too. The past 18 months have been harrowing, and I now need to take her home to heal and rebuild our lives. She has lost everything, her home in London and her livelihood, but not her dignity. I've always said that love is the only thing that's going to conquer the insidious evil that has found its way to our shores. 18 months ago, when 6 strangers met for the first time and entered a death factory, committing a random act of pure love by putting their lives on the front line and their bodies between a killer quadcopter drone and its next innocent Palestinian. This caused the resistance movement to sprout a branch of love and support to our families that I will never be able to put into words. But that support spans the length and breadth of this country. Look at you all. There are too many of you. There are too many of you to mention, some names I don't even know, but know you I do, for the random acts of love you have shown us that are bringing humanity together during terrifying times of totalitarianism. I have to name a few, not just for their support, but for the relentless, unwavering hand-holding day after day after day. Cage International as an organisation have been incredible. I suggest you don't wait until you need them to go and look into the amazing work that they do. But I have to particularly mention Nyla. You've been by my side. You've been by my side through my darkest moments. No matter how late at night, you are always there. Damn. That's D-A''. I know there are many that make up this support team, but Lux, Vinny and Naila, none of the families of the Filton 24 could have survived this nightmare without you. You will be forever. You will be forever in my heart, and there will always be a place for you at my table. Ellie may be free from prison, but we are all still enslaved. This movement has shown me that much can be achieved when we stand together, unite with one love and resist every last thing they throw at us. When Palestine is free, it will symbolize all our freedoms. So we must keep fighting for her. Let Palestine be the focus and the love that brings each and every one of us together against the dark forces of Zionism that has infiltrated every aspect of our lives. Free Palestine.
Subhanallah, what a day. Today we have witnessed victory in the face of unimaginable injustice. The jury failed to convict my daughter Fatima Zainab and the other 5 defendants of any charges brought against them. They had felt morally compelled to dismantle weapons that were going to be used to kill innocent civilians, including children, in a live-streamed genocide in Gaza. This act of courage should be celebrated, and the day is today. But the way our loved ones have been policed and prosecuted was brutal and unprecedented. They were arrested by counter-terror police, held incommunicado in solitary confinement for up to a week. The United Nations declared this treatment as enforced disappearance. The UN condemned the unjustified use of UK counter-terror laws against the Filton 24. These arrests began as a test case to see how the expansion of terrorism legislation could be used to protect Israeli military business in Britain, most specifically of Elbit Systems, Israel's largest arms manufacturer. This is the first time Britain has attempted to equate property damage with terrorism, setting a dangerous precedent. They were charged with completely unprecedented charges: aggravated burglary, described as overkill by the defense team. There was zero evidence that they planned violence or the use of weapons. My daughter Fatima Zainab and her co-defendants should have received bail, but in a gross abuse of power and use of counter-terror measures, she has been denied bail 3 times so far, and the 6 have been imprisoned for 547 days today, without being convicted of any crime. This is well beyond the legal limit of 6 months. Each of the defendants had no previous convictions, no previous arrests or charges. They should never have been in prison for this long. The state used the punishment as the process, and now I can finally take my daughter home today. During the trial, the prosecution did not dispute that the 6 defendants believed that Elbit's role, or what Elbit's role in Israel's genocide was. When Fatima Zainab gave evidence, she was asked about her engagement with Palestine. She spoke of going to peace rallies for Palestine in her teenage years, as well as being part of her university encampment, Goldsmiths University, and participating in national marches and demos since the genocide started. She said she kept seeing endless images from Gaza and decided to do more. On the stand, Fatima Zainab confirmed that her intention was to dismantle weapons and decommission the site, and that she recorded the inside of the factory to expose Elbit Systems' complicity in the genocide and other companies enabling genocide. The brutal and unprecedented response to their action has exposed the true values of this government. This government is determined to do business with Israel and protect its weapons industry at any cost. Our loved ones dared to poke this beast, and no expense has been spared in policing, prosecuting, and imprisoning them without trial for so long. Imagine if the government had put the same amount of money, resources, and political will into preventing a genocide. We're so grateful that ordinary members of the public, the jury, delivering the verdict, and monumental victory for my daughter and all of the Filton 24. And I would just like to say a massive, massive thank you to every single one of you for all the hearts that have turned towards the movement, for all the hands that have been raised in prayer for us, for all the voices that spoke out for the justice of the Filton 24. Thank you so much. It is with your love and your support that we see the victory that we do today.
Thank you. Bismillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum and good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out and being here with us today. Is that better now? Yeah. Okay. So, the Filton 6 were on the inside. They were victorious the moment they chose to go in to the Elbit factory. They were victorious when they were arrested. They were victorious the entire time they spent inside the prison, and they are victorious today as a jury has acquitted them on the most significant charge and found that they cannot convict them on all the other charges. Today is a vindication. It is a vindication of them, and it is a vindication of this entire movement. That direct action is not a random act of violence. It is part of a constellation of actions to end the ongoing genocide, and direct action is and will continue to be part of this movement. A jury of our peers has understood that these actions against a genocidal regime can never be understood as a criminal act. That is significant. It is significant because this genocide is still the center of this issue, that a settler colonial apartheid state still continues to exist in this world, and our government continues to support that settler colonial apartheid state, despite everything that international law purportedly says. This case is significant as there were difficulties for the defendants to represent themselves fully. The police arrested them under counter-terrorism powers and held them incommunicado for a week and refused to grant them bail. The judge in the case consistently interrupted the barristers and the defendants, stopping them from mentioning the role of Elbit Systems throughout. Elbit Systems, an Israeli weapons manufacturer that continues to be involved in the killing of Palestinians as part of the Israeli genocide every single day.
Shame on the judge!
Cage International has been documenting how juries have been representing the authentic view of the British public, that they continually refuse to convict in these types of cases, the vast majority of cases, over 90% of them, where direct action has taken place, juries are looking not at what the action of what these actionists are doing, they're looking at the actions of a genocidal state and saying not guilty. They're saying we refuse, as a jury of your peers, to be involved in this ongoing genocide. That is crucial. This judge has said that in this case, if a defendant felt morally justified in doing what they did to prevent what they thought was a genocide, then that would not amount to a lawful excuse. That was the judge's view. Even though the defendants were caught inside a weapons manufacturer having smashed up their drones, still they were acquitted. And this is significant because criminal damage was used as part of the justification for prescribing Palestine action. So our call today must be, especially after this victory, this government must deprescribe Palestine action. The remaining 18 must be released. We must commit to continue fighting until all are free. And that we must ensure that it is not in the public interest for the remaining charges to be retried. And I thank you all for all your love and solidarity over these long, hard months. And my love to the families, and especially the 6 inside and the 18 who we wait to see their release.
Final few words from the Filton 24 Defence Committee, and then I'll update on bail and those what you can expect next. So, final comments that we cannot make clear enough. Yvette Cooper and Keir Starmer took evidence in this case out of context and broadcast it on televisions and across tabloids across this country. And they did that to justify banning Palestine action under terrorism laws.
Propaganda!
What that did was completely compromise these 6 young people's chances and use them as political pawns in the global arms trade. But now, by the Labour government's own logic then, now that a court of law have found that the actions against Elbit Systems that night were reasonable, we should all expect Shabana Mahmood to do the reasonable thing herself and the only logical thing next and lift the ban on Palestine action. It is time for the British state to accept that the movement for a liberated Palestine has been and will continue to be justified. And let's not get it twisted. This same state and its legacy will one day claim that these activists were part of England's righteous history, won't they? Yeah? So let this be clear now. The strength of these individuals was modelled on the regular Palestinian dignity and will. It was the antithesis of the overwhelming cowardice we have seen in Parliament for 2 years. There are still 18 more defendants imprisoned across the UK in connection with this case, and they're being held under joint enterprise. So joint enterprise is a principle that is synonymous with the racist policing of young black men in this country. Right? It's a means of taking control of the maximum number of citizens they can narratively get away with. That's what joint enterprise is. So joint enterprise in this case means that all 24 defendants, except Sam with his extra charge, all 24 defendants have the same 3 charges, whether they're being accused of being present or not. So, since the defendants here were found not guilty of the most serious charge of aggravated burglary, which is described in the law as breaking into property with an item intended to cause harm to another person. Right? So we can reasonably deduce from that the jury agreed that items taken into that warehouse were not malicious. No. They were tools used to dismantle and neutralize Elbit's weapons. So, if the first 6 were the only ones the prosecution ever argued entered the factory, and now they've been found not guilty of aggravated burglary, the next step, surely, is to drop that charge for the remaining 18 co-defendants and grant bail immediately. And we and the thousands upon thousands of people who I mentioned earlier will not rest until that happens. So Lottie, Ellie, Fatima Zainab, Jordan and Zoe will be coming home today. That does mean that we have one of the defendants who is not coming home today. Sam has been denied bail. But I'd like to tell you that he left the courtroom with his fist raised high and a smile on his face. So 5 defendants will be coming out of those doors today. But they will not be doing press interviews today. So we'll be taking interview requests for media who want to do interviews with them. And this is the email address that you will need if you want to contact us to speak to the defendants. It is the Filton 2424-defense@proton.me. Just find myself or just find me. Leave these guys alone. Find me and I'll tell you that again if you need it.